All right, we continue to march on here. We've got Kevin McGuffey on the line from Last Word on College Football to break down his beloved Wildcats, who were off last week after a loss to Georgia, loss to Missouri, and need to right the ship here to have a winning record, meaning 4 straight if they're hopefully able to play them all. They've got Vandy coming to town coming up this weekend. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Mark? Always great to be on and talking SEC football with you. An albeit abbreviated week. I was joking with someone earlier that at the rate we're going this week, Kentucky and Vandy might end up being the CBS game, the 3:30 game on Saturday, because there's not going to be anybody else to play. But as you know, as he said right before me, he said, "Yeah, you guys are talking. We knew at some point a weekend like this was going to happen, and it just happens to be right now. It just happens to be this weekend. And honestly, Kentucky's had some problems, a little bit of COVID problem, not necessarily with the players, but Coach Stoops mentioned on Monday that he was down three of his assistants on offensive assistant. Of course, John Schlarman, who it's a whole nother thing. You may not know the story. He's battling cancer. He's been away from the team since before the Missouri game. And then he said he was down 2 other assistants earlier this week. Now, we think one of them was Eddie Gran, because he mentioned that he thought Gran, who's Kentucky's offensive coordinator, would be available for Saturday. Now, we don't know who the third one is. But anyway, just throwing that out there. But there's, as we're talking at 9:18 on Wednesday night, the game is scheduled to go on, and as you said, Kentucky really needs a win, and it's in theory it's a game they should win.
Yeah, Vanderbilt has no question been the worst team in the league. There's no question about that. Arkansas is elevated, and even some other teams struggling has left Vandy now at 0-6, and I thought that this would be the plight for either Vandy or Arkansas entering the season once you lost all those non-conference games that are typically wins for those teams and added 2 more SEC games, that it could get pretty ugly when it comes to a record, and Vandy is playing right into that right now at 0-6. They did have a major advantage on the stat sheet against Mississippi State last week. They totaled 30 first downs to 14. They had almost 500 yards of total offense to like 250, something in that range, 2-1 or more than 2-1 advantage. But Mississippi State made the key plays to win it. 21-14, something in that range. It was a touchdown game, 20-14, I believe. So now Kentucky 24-17. There we go.
Yeah, 24-17. Yeah. So like I said, go ahead.
No, just setting you up for anything else that you had with Kentucky.
What I was going to say was the thing about that was kind of the Vanderbilt game was kind of reminiscent of some of the early Kentucky games this year, where basically Kentucky won a lot of the stats but lost the turnover battle. I think Vandy had five turnovers, and that led to their eventual downfall. I think they got behind like 21-0 or something before they rallied. And then, with Kentucky is with the same way, Kentucky is, plus 12 or has 12 turnovers now, like one of the best turnover margins in the SEC, which after the first 2 games, they were one of the worst. And Vandy is near the bottom. I was finishing up my preview of the game for Last Word on College Football, and that was one of the big things, the battle of turnovers, because Kentucky has done great with turnover battles. Now they just have to figure out, what to do with it when they get the turnovers, because that's been their biggest problem now, is putting points on the board. And Swampy McGee, I would say yes, but I would say yes, he is on the hot seat, but we'll find out. We'll probably find that out in December. But for Kentucky, they've had a bye week, and hopefully the coaches say they've had a couple weeks to try to work on some of their offensive issues, because it's been let's face it, it's been pretty brutal. I think the stat is there's only in this 2020 college football where we have everybody, playing the Big 12 style football, we're scoring 40, 50 points. Kentucky's the only team in the SEC who's gone under 200 yards in total offense twice. this year, and been under 300 yards in four of the 6 games. The only ones where where they got over that mark was 300 yards was Tennessee, and then the game against Ole Miss.
Got Kevin McGuffey on the line from Last Word on College Football. We enjoy our conversation with Kevin throughout the college football season and the off season. You can catch his work again on Last Word on College Football. Kevin loves his Cats.
As far as Saturday, like I said, this is one of those games in theory where you should, hopefully, if you're a Kentucky fan, get in, get some reps for some guys, get a lead, and then get maybe one of these games where you can try to get some of the younger guys in. And Coach Stoops even alluded to that earlier this week, that, we're still, Terry Wilson didn't play against Georgia. Joey Gatewood got the start, did some decent, didn't do bad. I mean, Kentucky only lost 14-3, but, the defense, Kentucky's defense has been there. It's just a matter of the offense. And so there's kind of some doubt, or, still trying to decide, do you go with Gatewood, and kind of build towards the future, or do you, stick with Terry, the guy that's won you 14, 15 games in the SEC, think about that. He's won 14, 15 games, playing at Kentucky, playing an SEC schedule, led them to the Citrus Bowl. And then, they have a third guy, Bo Allen, who's a true freshman out of Lexington Catholic, who's another guy who, they said has been looking great in practice. So in a perfect world, Kentucky would get like a 2-3 touchdown lead. And then that second half, you can play some of these younger guys and see what they can do, because there's really not, after this, you got at Alabama and at Florida. So, it's really time to put on the big boy pants and basically, more than likely the two teams that's going to be playing for the SEC championship, cross your fingers on we think December 19th. And then we'll go from there. And it just depends on, obviously, to use a phrase that everybody uses, COVID pretty much decides we don't decide the schedule and how things work. COVID kind of decides things these days. But from my standpoint, I'm predicting somewhere around, I'm going to say 24-10 win for Kentucky. Basically not very exciting, but just enough to get the job done. And as I said, I've been working on my preview for the game. So Kentucky, I think, opened as a 17-point favorite, which is, kind of crazy in the SEC. And I think the last time Kentucky was that big of a favorite, they also played Vandy, and it was 2 years ago, and they only won 14-7 in a game that was played in a huge windstorm and all of that. So, Kentucky historically doesn't do well as a big favorite. So, a lot of times you take the under as opposed to the over on the point spread.
Although for Vandy, up until last week against Mississippi State, and I thought that would be their best shot to win a game. Again, they really, unlike Vandy, what we typically see out of them, were able to statistically dominate the game and lost it by a touchdown still. And I'll take a stab at Derek Mason and Swampy McGee's comment here. And Swampy, by the way, Kevin, does an exceptional job of following up on his statements with this type of information. He'll give you the full biographical, coaching record, the whole deal. He will go right to the source and pull it up for us. So we've got 27-52, and this is a 7th season for Derek Mason. 10-43 in the SEC. I was trying to do the math on that. So they played 6 games this year, and that's an uneven number of games. So I don't know how that would be 53 games, but anyway, I'm sure it's in very close to the exact total. 10-43, and 2 bowl losses. They lost to Baylor 2 years ago in a bowl game where they played well, and they got annihilated by somebody. I think it was NC State several years ago. But my thought is that Vandy is a difficult one for me to judge, Kevin. If you would say, is this person succeeding at Florida? Well, I know what the bar is. Are they succeeding at Kentucky or South Carolina? Well, I know the bar is somewhere different. But at Vandy, my goodness, if I'm at Vandy, I'm thinking I want to hire a coach and I want to be competitive in the SEC. And I would like to maybe go to a bowl game 3 or 4 times out of 5 years, I'd like to win 6 or 7 games. And then I know that I'm going to down cycle to a 3-9, but I don't want to do that too often. I would think Derek Mason would be on the hot seat. He hasn't really. I think the year-to-year records have been pretty abysmal, and they're not improving.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And honestly, I think you can almost make a comparison to where Kentucky was a few years ago at the end of the, after Rich Brooks retired in 2009 and Joker Phillips came in. And then, they started off, went to a bowl game that first year. Then they went way down, 2-10. Stoops' first year was 2-10. And now he's built that back up to where they've gone, 4 straight winning seasons. For a Kentucky fan, basically, if you went 6, baseball school. If you went 6-6 and went to, say like the Independence Bowl, I mean, you were having a great season. And, now the expectations here at Kentucky has raised a little bit to where, you're thinking right now 7 to 8 wins should be the minimum every season. Now, obviously this season it's not going to work out that way, which I know goes against your preseason picks. And I hate that, Kentucky hasn't come through for you like we all hoped, but now I mean, but then again, you think about the facilities at Vandy, and you want to say that even the academics and everything at Vandy, it's probably a little harder being a successful coach at Vandy. Now James Franklin did it back a decade or so ago. They had some really, really good teams there, but yeah, I mean overall, I think it's just tough to win in general at Vanderbilt. And like I said, for any Vandy fans out there, that's just my opinion.
So Kevin, I'm going to go back to something that you alluded to just a few minutes ago in regards to Terry Wilson's record as a starting quarterback and some of the fan base wanting to see other quarterbacks get the opportunity. I just sifted through the 2021 commits as they stand right now. Are there any hotshot quarterback possibilities for Kentucky that you're aware of?
The only quarterback that I can think of off the top of my head is a kid named Kaya Sharon, who's actually from Somerset. He's a local kid. He plays for Somerset. Actually, his dad and I played high school football many years ago, back in the late 1980s. Yeah, he. Off the top of my head, he's the only one that I can think of. I don't have the list in front of me, but I mean, they think they're pretty well set with Gatewood, and then they think Bo Allen is going to be the quarterback of the future. And then you have Gatewood for a couple years, and then Allen, and then Sharon might be that guy after that. Now there may be somebody I'm missing, but he's the only one that I can think of as quarterback in this 2021 class. So. But anyway, he's a guy. He's the one guy, except from Somerset, and Kentucky is really the state of football. Another thing that's helped Coach Stoops is that the state of high school football in Kentucky, the type of player has gotten a whole lot better over the last few years. And Kentucky, Vince Marrow especially, has done a great job of keeping those great in-state players going to Kentucky. Because, before you would see, go back to, Sean Alexander going to Alabama, Frank Jacobs going way back, Notre Dame, places, people like that. They all went out of state. And now for the most part, they're all staying in state and staying here in Kentucky. And like I said, the quality here in Kentucky, as far as high school football, has gone way up. And that's been, as you and I have talked many times, Ohio, and now they've really broken into Michigan, that's and then Georgia and Florida, that's kind of Kentucky's big recruiting bases. But like I said, they've done a really good job of keeping the in-state guys here. But like I said, Sharon might be a guy 3 or 4 years, down the road you may be hearing about. But right now, like I said, next year it'll be Gatewood, I think, and Gatewood, and then Bo Allen after that. So, and you can't, you can't argue with that statement. So they've done very well. Kentucky's basketball record speaks for itself.
So Kaya Sharon, I caught up with his numbers. 33rd rated pro style quarterback according to the 247 Sports Composite. 8th rated player in the state, committed to Kentucky back in March. All right, Kevin McGuffey, last word on college football. breaking down the Cats for us as they prepare for Vandy, trying to break a small losing streak of a couple games and up that record to 3-4 against the Commodores. Kevin, we appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the game. Hope there is a game, and hopefully that we keep this 3-game SEC schedule, at least those 3 games intact for this Saturday.
Yeah, definitely so. Because I said, I don't know what, Kentucky has December 12th open, but I don't know, we don't know what we're going to do with the rest of the games. I heard, crazy rumors that they were going to cancel the UK Alabama game next week and then try to make up one of the like LSU game or something. I don't know. I don't even know how that would even work, but that was just one of the crazy, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. That was one of the things that was going around today that they might try to do something like that, but we'll see. But you talk about quarterbacks real quick. Mac Jones, quarterback at Alabama back 2015, 2016, committed to Kentucky originally and was a UK commit for almost a year. And then he, I think in the next summer, he said he decommitted, and then like within a week had signed with Alabama. And at the time, everybody here was like, "Why would you go?" Because they had Tua, they had Jalen Hurts. It's like he's just going to go, hold the clipboard. And then you see, these guys. Hurts goes to Oklahoma. Tua gets injured, and now you see what Mac Jones has done, and I think he's probably either first or second right now in the Heisman race. With Lawrence and Justin Fields, and like I said, it's one thing Kentucky's done a really good job of. One more is that they found guys that have gotten in on guys early, kind of before they blow up and become bigger names. And for the most part, they've done a really good job of holding on to them. But just, talking about quarterbacks, Mac Jones, you wonder what he would be doing, say, running the Kentucky offense here. Would he be throwing, 400 yards, 400 yards a game? So anyway, that's another one of those what if things, but so we'll go from there.
I'm going to take my stab at Mac Jones not quite posting the numbers at Kentucky with a receiver core that he would work with as opposed to Alabama. But I would also say that Kentucky's passing numbers, I think, would be taking a pretty good leap forward, because for as good as those receivers are and the protection he receives, he is really good. And he can deliver the ball, and he is super, super accurate and really doing a nice job with that Alabama offense. So that was one that got away for Kentucky, and their search for a quarterback continues, and we'll see if it's Bo Allen or Joey Gatewood here in 2021.